everyone for joining us tonight. In the interest of time, I'm going to go ahead and get started. I know we have a lot of great content to get through tonight. Welcome to Taming Imposter Syndrome, and thank you for joining us. My name is Ashlyn, and I'm the Assistant Director of Events and Volunteer Management for Grand Valley's Alumni Relations Office. If you have yet to do so already, please introduce yourself in the chat. You may share your name, grad year, and why this session was of interest to you. Tonight's workshop is the fifth and final installation of our Career Readiness series. Through a partnership with community organizations, the Grand Valley Career Center, and fellow GVSU champions and alumni, we were able to offer you in-depth career support that is specifically catered to recent grads and Grand Valley alumni searching for a postgraduate career or career change. This evening, I have the pleasure of introducing our workshop facilitator, Amy Pierce-Danders. Amy Pierce-Danders wears a lot of hats. She has helped over 5,000 people in their career life journey, walking alongside people as they determine direction, helping people build their confidence in all things career and life. Amy is the founder of E3 Coaching Studio, where the sole driver is to act as a guide to help humans uncover their purposes and passions so that they can live an unapologetic life that is harmonious with their soul. As a career life strategist, Amy believes every member of humanity is unique. Our lived experiences, background, and natural gifts tell a story, and sometimes we need to add a member to our tribe to help us craft a chapter or a book. Amy helps move one's presence and purpose into action. E3 Coaching Studio serves both individual and organizational clients. Amy also proudly serves Pine Rest Mental Health Services as their campus engagement recruiter. This role allows Amy the opportunity to build relationships with students and recent alums who have a pull towards the healthcare field to support individuals with mental wellness, embracing neurodiversity care, overcoming substance abuse, and more. Amy is a sought-after speaker, delivering impactful keynotes and workshops encompassing career development, workforce readiness, and life-empowering programs. She has delivered programs to over 100 organizations. Amy, we are so appreciative of you being here this evening, and we are lucky to have you. Before I turn it over, I do want to stress just a couple Zoom keeping and etiquette rules. This workshop is being recorded. We will send out that recording to participants tomorrow or at the beginning of next week for you to access. Please be respectful of others participating in this workshop. If you need to conduct business outside of the Zoom meeting, please mute yourself and turn off your camera before doing so. Additionally, Amy encourages interactions and questions. So if you would like to participate, please utilize the chat or raise your hand at any point. We'll be monitoring both of those. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Amy.
Hi, Amy Pierce-Danders here. So excited to be joining the Laker family this evening. And before we get started, thank you for answering Ashlyn's request. Like, who are you? Why are you here? Because those responses that you shared are actually going to help me on the fly this evening, kind of customize some of the information that I had planned, because you've already shown up with a willingness to be vulnerable in this space. And I'll be talking about ground rules here in a minute. And one of those will be a safe space. So I just want to say thank you so much for sharing some of the reasons that you're joining tonight so we can focus on that. As Ashlyn mentioned, I'm into interaction. And so throw those questions in. We can stop, pause, unpack. So let's go ahead and get started. What I will tell you, someone said, I don't see myself as a techie. I bet you are a techie, probably more than myself. So Ashlyn and I did try this out, but let's see if it works the way it was supposed to, because now it's on multiple screens. So Ashlyn, if you can let me know, are we seeing the screen we're supposed to?
Yes. Yes, we are.
Perfect.
You're doing great. You
All right.
got it.
We're on the right place, everybody. So thank you again for being here. Okay, now the clicker's not working, but let's see if there we go. So a little bit about me, or how the evening is going to go, is we're going to talk about anytime you're hanging out with E3 Coaching Studio and or Pine Rest, whenever I'm presenting, we're going to go over the ground rules for tonight. I'm going to talk a little bit about myself. I promise you it's not going to be my full bio. Then we're going to talk about what is imposter syndrome, where it came from, the history of it, providing some resources to go along with that. And then we're going to talk about why it's so expensive, why it's draining, and how do you conquer that beast. And we're going to finalize it with a commitment contract. So I hope that you're ready to put in some work. And we're going to have Q&A for those who like to wait to the end, because we're all different in how we process information. And so if you don't want to ask your question right away and you want to wait until the end, we will have opportunity to do so at that time as well. And Ashlyn is going to be monitoring chat, raise hands, and we will go from there. So ground rules, anytime you're hanging out with E3 Coaching Studios. Fidgets, y'all have been busting your booty all day long. You've been hustling, whether you're in school or you're working a job or taking care of family members. You have been conditioned that you have to sit still, even when we're not on camera, to stay in control. Little secret for me that my alumni relations friends know is I am full of fidgets, because even as adults, sometimes we need to do something with our hands to stay engaged and to be thoughtful in what we're hearing. Also, this is a safe space for you to show up as your whole self. And what I mean by that is I want to encourage contribution and for you to know that your lived experiences are going to be honored. So at this time, if I have any folks that have joined us that don't feel like they can create a safe space for others, zero judgment, but feel free to exit with us now, because we want to maintain this as a space where individuals can be authentic and ask questions and address any fears that might come up or celebrations that we can touch base on. So identities. We come with all kinds of baggage. It's not just how we present as an individual. And so I always like to start out workshops just being who I am and the various pieces of me that I carry in my inner being that oftentimes can contribute to facets of imposter syndrome, but then they can also be huge strengths. So this is kind of just a wordsmith, a word cloud, not a word cloud because it doesn't show well on the screen. But as Ashlyn said, I'm a career life strategist. I've been working with folks for over 20 years to create the lives that they want, often with individuals who are new graduates or they're in the midst of a transition, but they don't know what that is. They just don't know what is right. And then with Pine Rest, I am a campus and community outreach recruiter, which means that I am connecting with individuals in the spaces where they're located to talk to them about opportunities that might exist within that 1,900 employee ecosystem. For me, I am married. I identify on the 2S LGBTQ spectrum. My wife is Megan. Then my identities as a family member. A few things that will come up today is recovering people pleaser, recovering perfectionist. I used to pride myself on those, and that is not necessarily the case anymore. Well, it's not the case, to be quite honest. I am also an ally and advocate to those individuals historically in our world that have been marginalized and held back individually as well as systemically. In the comments, I did notice a few individuals mentioned, I'm a first generation student. I don't know what to do. I'm with you. I was a first generation student. My family makeup is very different from the life they dreamed for me, the path I was going towards. I had zero social capital. I didn't know how to make connections. So I understand. And that still, somebody asked me 2 weekends ago, like, being somebody that was, a first gen student, do you ever feel like you don't belong in the room? And I'm like, yeah, still a lot of times. Absolutely. I'm still learning, but I was blessed by individuals who acted as mentors for me. Fun fact is a lot of people, when Ashlyn, I don't know if it was on the opening screen or not, it shows MBA, certification in this, certification in this, certification in this. I like to tell people I was a high school struggler, and it actually said dropout, but because it says college dropout, I just put struggler in there. But high school was a social occasion for me, and so it was a struggle with my personality type to sit in rows and columns. Obviously, I have an MBA and I've become a lifetime learner. However, it took me 10 years to get an associate's degree because I didn't see the point. And I had the creme de la creme deal with my mom about college. I screwed that up in 6 weeks. And so then took on a bunch of student debt that went with that. But other things that make up my being that you cannot see when you look at me visually is being a survivor of various types of abuse. And also my lineage as a child of individuals with addiction, having a deceased parent, having a parent who is incarcerated. And I'm not going to ask any of you to reveal these things, but I share this so that perhaps you'll be like, okay, she might understand some of the perspectives that I'm carrying around with my inner roommate, but also so that if you're like, I don't get her lens. Well, these are some of the lenses that I am bringing into this conversation. So enough about Amy. It's all about you as the alumni team. So imposter syndrome is the experiencing of feelings of inadequacy, even though our successes can be traced to hard work, not luck. What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is you have a litany of successes. And when we think of our successes, we have been conditioned, especially in American society, to think of success as only professional. And if you are a new graduate, or you're somebody returning to the workforce, or you're in the midst of transition, you're like, they don't apply. They all apply. They're all various careers. You had a K-12 career. You have a collegiate career. You have a professional life. You have a life perhaps as a significant other, as a community volunteer. And so our successes are in totality, but imposter syndrome is where we're just feeling like, oh, none of this counts and I'm not worthy enough. And we're going to dig in deeper, but that is the short and sweet of a definition of imposter syndrome. So where did this come from? So one of my heroes in the world is Dr. Pauline Clance. And in 1978, she had a lot of graduates and doctoral students who would come in and to her and say, I'm quitting. I can't do this. I can't write this thesis. I'm going to fail. And she would sit down and have conversations with those individuals and essentially dumbfounded by, why don't you think you can accomplish this? You have this success, this marker. You've overcome this. You have demonstrated grit and perseverance. What is happening there? And then thematically, she just kept looking and finding similarities, which was the proponent of her research. You will be receiving follow-up information, one of which will be to Dr. Pauline's website. The reason it says conducted research in 1978, because the beauty about this individual on that 1978 link is she has kept a record of all imposter syndrome research and validated articles, information since 1978. Just master of a woman. She has also created the Clance Imposter Phenomena Scale. So I'm going to pause the PowerPoint real quick and do a real quick share of a different screen to show you briefly what that scale looks like. It has stood the test of time. And so you will be receiving this to see how you feel that you rate on the Clance IP scale, and then hopefully be able to do some of the takeaways that we're going to work on tonight. So you will be receiving this as well. I promise you it takes about 45 seconds to complete, but hopefully you will find that useful. Finding the right screen again, Ashlyn. All right, here we go.
All good. A question did come through the chat.
Yes.
Is imposter syndrome primarily found to occur in women? Do you know?
So we are going to get to that on the very next screen.
Awesome.
Yes. One thing I want to make sure that we are touching on from Dr. Pauline's work, that her lifetime of work, is that she encourages us to reframe it away from syndrome to phenomena. So imposter phenomena. So from here on out, the way I hooked you was to name the presentation Taming Imposter Syndrome. But from this point forward this evening, it's going to be Taming Imposter Phenomena. The reason for that, syndrome makes us feel like we have something we can't get rid of, we can't control, and that is not true. We're going to learn to tame it, and sometimes those pieces may come back up, but just realizing it's a phenomena that can go away and we can take care of that. So that was another piece that I wanted to make sure we touched. And whomever asked that question, you are on it. So we are going to chat briefly about female identifying individuals and extra pressures. So to address your question, imposter phenomena affects all human beings. However, it does affect female identifying individuals and individuals from our Black and Brown communities, Indigenous communities at a higher level. And so again, it impacts everybody. So for my male identifying and cis male guests tonight, it does apply to you. So I'm not taking that away. It just is a little extra for other parts of our population. And the reasons for that is one of them is called gender credibility. And what that means is in leadership roles, a lot of those spaces have strong male presences. And so cis males tend to have role models and a presumed growth through the aging processes that we're still working through in society to share with the female gender. And so that's why it becomes a little bit easier over time for males. Also, stereotyping often plays a big part in imposter phenomena, and the extra pressures come from females tend to receive a lot of stereotyping or carry a lot of our own internal biases based on our looks, our identity, our relationship status, or receive judgments from others based on those different statuses. And then systemic biases that are often built into what you think of traditional workspaces. Just for the heck of it, I'm going to throw out like construction. In females in the world of construction often have to hold on to the ladder tighter to climb up because they're not seen as physically as strong. Can they do the work? How did they learn the work? So a long answer to your question, it encompasses everybody, but females tend to experience it at a greater rate and for a longer period of time in life. So yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt. It looks like the slideshow is not displaying right again. Do you want to stop it and restart it?
I will stop share and go again. Thank you for that.
Yes, Heidi, thank you for letting us know.
Thank you, Heidi. All right, are we seeing the right thing now?
Yep, that's good.
Right, perfect. So here's just a couple of cartoons. The one on the left is addressing that female identifying. Hey, thanks, Julia. But to be fully convinced, I need to hear John restate your idea. If we were in a room together, I'd say show of hands. So if you want to throw it in the chat, have you ever felt that? I know I personally have. I actually just was recommending an individual that I know, a former colleague, to say, heck yeah, he would be awesome for this job, because a big piece of it is advancing equity. And this gentleman in a certain space I was previously in, 3 different times we were in meetings together with like really big high rollers in West Michigan that happened to be rooms full of males, and I was the only cis female in the room. And he was like, wait a minute, Amy just said that. Why are we having to do this? Or why do I need to? But his just belief in gender equity. And so you know who you are. Thank you for doing that. And I was so happy to refer you recently. And then the one on the right for me is a huge, when I said that we can't sometimes verbalize, or we have these feelings that we carry around with us, and this baggage is a really good representation of imposter phenomena. How are you doing? I'm doing just fine. When really we got all this baggage, your fake fraud police are going to come out. They're going to know how you're feeling. I mean, I got so much baggage back here, to steal a term from a friend. I got a bellhop back here. So But this is what our inner gremlin, which I'm going to introduce soon, when you're experiencing imposter phenomena, that's what it feels like, is I can't do this because, or you're not worth it, or you don't have the experience, or how dare you believe that you can do what so-and-so does. So those are just a couple of comical, in a way, maybe a little touchy representations. Excuse me. Okay, and then our next visualization before we really dig in around imposter phenomena is, look at our graph here, look at our pie. Who gets imposter syndrome? Every person in society has some sort of imposter phenomena, and it may carry itself in different stages of your life at greater depths. So sometimes you might be feeling as, maybe you're a parent and you're feeling really, really strong. And then that child hits 13 and you're like, whoa, what happened? And I can't do this, but there's no return to sender. Or you're in the midst. Somebody in the comments, as we were beginning, said, I'm in a new position, in a new organization. It's similar, but I'm just feeling very, very lost. You are not alone. That's very typical. And so I just want to reassure everyone, there is nothing wrong with you when you feel those imposter gremlins. Everybody feels it. And we feel it in different spaces in our world, but we're going to talk about how to step away. Ashlyn, I'm seeing some things happening in the chat. We have any questions before we move on? You're on mute.
I got it unmute. Yep. We do not have any questions, just a couple of people relating to the last slide. This one's great as well,
though. All right. So let's talk about imposter syndrome is expensive. And what does that look like when I say expensive? So you have an opportunity to apply for a promotional position at an organization, or to move to outside your organization to a new space. But you're continually eliminating yourself from the pool because you get that litany of, you know, what the job advertisement is, and you're looking for that one, maybe two bullet points that knock you out. Nope, I can't do that. Nope, I can't do that. And that is costing you how many physical, real dollars that you can put into your life by eliminating yourself from the pool. This being a career readiness series, I just want to give you, from a recruiter, HR, coach background, that job advertisement that you see is actually like, for those of you who used to look at the Toys R Us lookbook that came in the mail, and now the Amazon lookbook, and you're dog-earing the pages, or you're post-it noting, or you're ripping stuff out, that's what the job advertisement is for employers as well. So they are actually only this is if they could create and manifest a candidate that could come in and be a replication of the previous person, or if they could create robotic AI to step in and do this role perfectly. What they're actually looking for is a 50 to 60% match for the qualifications, because we're all individuals. So when we cross out those one or two bullet points, we're costing ourselves probably personal happiness and joy and energy, but also we're leaving dollars on the table. So it is expensive both emotionally as well as monetarily. So look for what you do have, not what you don't have. Fun fact is cis males, if they match 50% of the job, they will submit their information for consideration. For female identifying individuals, we have a tendency, if we don't match 90%, I'm out of the pool. So it's very expensive when we're experiencing imposter gremlins. And that is my term for that feeling. And we're going to walk away how to tame that person pretty soon. So I encourage you, why are you a good match? It's also expensive because when you're feeling that way, well, if I just had this certification, or I took this class, or I got this degree, no shame on the game at Grand Valley. You know, I love you. I'll probably be taking some courses, you know, sometime soon in my future. But we have to remember that the name of the game of marketing is they're feeding off of our insecurities, and they're very aware of imposter phenomena. And so not only are we shelling out dollars for these classes or these certifications or these personal professional developments that are going to get us to the next space, so we have those dollars going out, but then guess what? You're going to say one more class and then you're still going to eliminate yourself from the pool. Also, I am here to dispel and apologize. Well, dispel a myth and then apologize on behalf of our society. We have been told to not be egotistical, to not brag. That is completely wrong when you are creating your professional toolkit. No one is going to know who you are in your toolkit, in your storytelling documents, unless you share that information. The only way you can share that information is in Word, video format, whatever piece you're working on, whether it's LinkedIn or your resume or cover letter. They don't know about your accomplishments unless you tell them about it. And one thing that I intend to expand on this in the future is your professional toolkit is also that two-way conversation that you're having during an interview as well. And so please talk about the accomplishments, and we're going to talk about ways to identify those. But the reason that's expensive is you have this you submit your documents, you have the interview series, you accept the role, but they're offering compensation based on what you have shared with them versus the full package of who you are. And they're like, oh, snap, Ashlyn can do this, Susan can do this. She should actually be offered this. Joe should get that, what have you. So it does cost you, again, in very real dollars, when we're allowing imposter phenomena to affect our careers. Imposter phenomena is absolutely draining as well. And so some ways to know that you might be experiencing that is you're consistently putting in more hours than everybody else. You're coming in early, you're staying late. In this age of remote and hybrid, you're not stepping away from your home office. You're not creating spaces or traditions that end your workday. A tradition that ends your workday could just be like, okay, when I'm stepping out of the home office, I'm going out to the mailbox to grab the mail. I'm taking the pup for a walk because that indicates the end of my workday. And so it's absolutely draining when you feel like I gotta keep on this rat race because my gremlins are saying I'm not worthy. The fraud police are going to show up at any moment. Also, when we're being superhuman and we see downtime as wasteful and unproductive. I'm here to tell you that relationships are the key to life. And I'm not saying I want you to get your work done, but getting to know your colleagues, both within your immediate organization, as well as the greater organization. Not saying you need to be BFFs with folks, but enough that fills you up. Consistently, year after year, I believe it's been over 20 years now, Gallup has shown that satisfied employees stay with organizations if they just have one person that they can call a friend there. And so let's try to stop that imposter gremlin from having you be focused and feeling like you have to prove yourself and volunteer for everything. Another draining piece of imposter phenomena is feeling that luck and timing is the only way that you ever got anywhere. And don't get me wrong here, serendipity has played a huge role in my life and in my success in life. So I am a believer in serendipity, but you have to take action on luck and timing in order for it to become successful. What imposter phenomena does is it takes that away from you. Excuse me. Takes that away from you and it says, nope, it was just luck and timing. You happened to meet Alexa, she talked to you and got you hooked up with this, had nothing to do with the talents or the fact that you saved $50,000 or $5 million, or you increased this by 27%. Imposter phenomena get your wheels going and says, nope, it was really Alexa that did that for you. And you can't apply that somewhere else. So just a lot of times it's defeating and draining. Another aspect of imposter phenomena is just the fear of disappointing others. I mentioned earlier, societal pressures, and that could be from your birth or known or chosen families, what they expect of you, and so you don't want to let them down. It could be significant others in your life, and a path was chosen and you followed suit, and you feel like if I make a change, I'm going to be disappointing others. So that is very physically and emotionally draining, but then also the fear of failure when it comes to our inner roommate, which I'll talk about as well as gremlins. That fear of failure, like, what if I'm not a success? And what if I end up, losing everything and unhoused? And what am I going to look like to people? And how am I going to be perceived? And I will still, owe on these finances. So those are the reasons that we want to combat those feelings of imposter phenomenon. So before we move ahead, I just want to pose to the group here, are there any questions about how it makes you feel, or do any of these things resonate with you? Throw it in the chat. send Ashlyn, if you don't want it public, or myself, a private chat. Before we move into how to tame imposter phenomena, I want to make sure that there aren't any lingering questions about how to recognize if you're feeling it. I love just scanning through. This is why I have 2 post-grad degrees. And yes, that ties in. Like, yep, 1 more degree. Got to get it if I want to be here. You know, and oftentimes I didn't see names to go along with that. But as opposed to that risk, that fear of failure, like, let's just go out and get the experience. And there's so many ways to do that. One of which is apply for the job, work with Grand Valley's Career Center team to up the game if you're feeling imposter phenomena and your interview game. But if you want to start out in small steps, volunteer in the community and get that experience that way instead of going for that next. And again, Grand Valley, I know you're hosting me, so I'm not taking away from tuition by any means, but going from there. So I'm just going to scan. I love it. I have been afraid of the pressures of success as much as the fear of failure. Just caught that one. Can't read huge quickly, but that is becoming more and more over the last 2 years with my clients. The recognition that I'm just afraid, as much afraid of success as I am failure. Because what am I going to do with it? If I get to this level, I'm at this level of success, and I go here, how am I going to top it? How am I going to keep going? And I also want to apologize on behalf of society, because we also tell you to climb the ladder, and that's the measurement of success. I believe Susan Proctor is on here, so I'm going to apologize to her right now, but I'm going to swear. Bullshit, you've been lied to.
Susan never swears.
It is not about the ladder of success. And that's what indicates whether you are a successful human. The ladder is about where you feel happy. So when we have that fear of success, don't feel like we have to top it. If you get to that wrong and you're like, this is my sweet spot, you don't have to keep moving. It's okay. But thank you for reminding me that I do need to add some pieces around the fear of success. And hopefully for that individual, when we step into some of these taming tactics, then that will give you some encouragement to write a little commitment to yourself around that and do some recognition. So, Ashlyn, I've been running my mouth. Any questions? Have you had a chance to read?
Not questions, just people really sharing in the chat. And
Okay.
there's some great comments going on there, but no question.
Good. And I just want to applaud all of you for your openness and vulnerability, for sharing in the comments, because that's a beautiful thing when we're in a workshop. So thank you for that. That is a gift to everybody within this event this evening. So let's move into some taming of imposter syndrome, imposter phenomena. So I'm going to share my screen up here again real quick. All right, Ashlyn, you're seeing the right one, right? Yes, perfect. Thank you. So first thing we're going to do is name it to tame it. We're going to give your imposter phenomena saboteur, your gremlin, your inner roommate, however you want to identify with this person, It has a name. We're gonna give it a name. We're gonna name it to tame it. But before we do that, the reason we're gonna do that is that gremlin's gonna show up. It's that inner self-talk. It is that feeling in your gut. I have a client who has been struggling to release the gremlins on a at least semi-permanent basis, but she shared with me that when her saboteur is doing that negative self-talk, she feels it in her heart and difficulty letting go. So yesterday, it was awesome. I found this cool heart piggy bank that had a clear cover to she can deposit things in it and watch her release happen, but fold it up so nobody else could see it. Nobody could get the lid off of it. And sometimes we don't put strategies in place to tame our gremlin. He, she, they, it, whatever, will talk and talk and talk and talk. And it's like a never ending reel in our head. And so kind of a rule of thumb that I would like to share for you is the max is they get 90 seconds. They get 90 seconds to talk their BS, to try and convince you not to step into that space or that you're not worthy enough. I oftentimes will even set a 90-second timer on my phone to be like, okay. So when I say name it to tame it, what I mean by that is giving it an actual name. So it could be a very traditional name. I'm going to share mine in a moment for my saboteur. But it can be the name of an object, or like I have one client, she didn't want to give it a name other than inner critic, but we're going to name it. I am so sorry. So oftentimes our gremlins come from experiences that we've had in life. And mine definitely do. They also come from my own work on esteem, confidence, what have you. But the name of my gremlin is Mrs. Moore. And here's the story on why it is Mrs. Moore. I had a second grade teacher. Her name was Mrs. Good. Little counterintuitive in my mind. So second grade teacher. Then I had a fourth grade teacher and her name was Mrs. Moore. So my gremlin is named after my fourth grade teacher, but she physically in my brain looks like my second grade teacher, Miss Good. The reason for that is I was a student who loved school. I loved to participate. I loved to learn and absorb information. But it was around second grade where my learning style is why. Not because I'm trying to challenge you as an educator, as a teacher, as a person in authority, but I just I genuinely want to know why. Like it's a deeper question for me to learn more, unpack the reasoning so I can buy into things. They did not see that way. It was, she is a troublemaker. She's always challenging the teacher. She's disrupting the class. I'm trying to move on with lessons. And so that's why it is Mrs. Moore is my gremlin's name. So when it pops up, all right, Ms. Moore, talk your smack, go ahead. Or if I'm feeling it, mine most of the time I feel in my gut. Go ahead, Miss Moore. But like I said, over years, You get 90 seconds before I'm going to shut you down. So what we're going to do next is each of you individually, we're just going to take 1 minute, and I want you to think of, and maybe when I was telling the story, this name doesn't have to be creative by any means. It doesn't even have to have a lot of thought. Like mine seems like it had a lot of thought, but I have been fans of those ladies for years, so it's kind of easy. So if it came to mind for you, but we're just going to do a little lab here. And we're going to take 1 minute. And so hopefully maybe you have a paper pen, a writing instrument, and a piece of paper, just so you don't forget what your gremlin's name is going to be, because we're going to name it to tame it. So I'm going to just start the timer here real quick. And 1 minute, we'll come back together. Or maybe not. Ashlyn, are you seeing my screen still or no?
No, I'm not.
Okay, I didn't think so. Okay. All right, back to seeing screen, Ashlyn.
Yes. Yep.
Awesome, thank you. So fun learning lesson for me with the add-in I use. I have to go off screen to start the timer. So thank you everybody for your patience. Just curious, throw in the chat as we move on. If you're willing, you don't have to. Just say, let me know. Were you able to name your saboteur, your gremlin, your inner critic? You can say yes, no, and if you want to, let us know the name of your gremlin. So as I'm going through the next few weeks, I'll be like, I'm sending positive vibes over to, I'm trying to think of, Mavis is the name of one of my clients, gremlins. So thank you for participating in that exercise. And now we're frozen. Hold on, my apologies. So sorry about this. Thank you for your grace, Laker family. All right. So some other ways to tame imposter phenomenon is to create a personal inventory. And what I mean by that is, when have you been a badass? When have you been a mediocre badass, but it contributed to something awesome? So I call it a life path exercise. So not only professionally, but all those personal hats that you wear as well for your volunteer activities, as a caregiver to children, older adults, different people, as a mentor, if you are active in sports. What are your skills and your accomplishments in all of those spaces? And some tips and tricks around that are to go not only through your own mind brain set, is to look up your old reviews. Oh, yes, snap. Totally forgot that Ashlyn said that about me. I need to remember that. Going through your old files to look at, oh, yeah, I did increase that number and may increase productivity by 11%. Oh, snap. Yeah, I did do that. Or as you're doing this exercise, racking your brain, figuring out a way to qualify or quantify some of those things, because that automatically raises our confidence and can shut down Mrs. Moore or whomever your gremlin is. An awesome thing about your personal inventory is if you could see, or I was brave enough to unplug my laptop right now and show you, in front of me is a wall right now of that personal inventory. That way, when Mrs. Moore shows up, guess what? All I have to do is look up, and there are reasons why she is a big fat liar. So creating that personal inventory. Also, a smile file. And what I mean by that is think about, what do people on a continuous basis tell you that you are a freaking rock star with? What are the consistent compliments that you receive professionally, personally? What do you notice that you deliver well on? And then I encourage you, keep a paper file of those. I can reach over to the left here, go, dang, things are feeling really hard right now, and give myself an energy boost to go, oh no, like right now, right in front of me, I have one from an individual named Chris. It says good things are going to happen. I just have to flip this. Boom, there's a whole list of why good things are going to happen to me. And they're based on professional successes. The other one is a gift from a friend of mine, Lindsay, that also lists what my skill sets and how they tie in both personally and professionally. So when I am having a rough time in my personal life, I go, oh yeah, I did that. I overcame that. I accomplished this. And so they're beautiful things. And so a smile file automatically increases our endorphins and our dopamine. And I personally have an electronic and paper. If I'm in my office, I can grab the paper file. If I'm out on the road and I'm freaked out because I'm getting ready to go into a big meeting or do a presentation, and I'm like, oh no, I just pick up my smile file and I'm good to go. I also have what I call personal advisory boards as a recommendation. And this is just a small tribe. It might be you and 3 other people. I recommend no more than 5, including yourself. But this is a group of individuals that you trust, that you can show up and say, I am really interested in this job, but I just don't feel like I'm qualified for it, or I can handle the pressures of it. I'm facing this situation in my life, so that they are your applause crowd to affirm why you can do this. Not your megaphone crowd, like your gremlin that shows up and it's like, yeah, you're right, that'll be a little too much. No, this is your cheerleading set And when I say meet on a regular basis, it can be physically where you're meeting up for a meal once a month, every other month. It can be a text chain. It can be a Slack channel. There's multitudes of ways that you can do this. I have 2 primary groups, as well as many supporters that I rely on. But one is just a group of 3 of us, and we round robin. We meet once a month. One month it's about one person, next month it's about the next person, third month. So we're just rotating to make sure that no one person is not getting the opportunity to share and get feedback. The other one is a free-for-all. I host it once a month. We do it virtually. It's individuals. There's 5 of us throughout the country. We all happen to be coaches in some way. And it's like, oh, snap, I encountered this. I'm struggling with this. I got asked to submit an RFP for this, but there is no way they're going to pick me. Yes, they are. Unless we put ourselves out there, they're not going to pick us. The chances we miss are the chances we don't take. So that's the intent of your personal advisory board. Ashley, before I move on, any questions popping up in the chat at all?
No questions. Nope.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay. So right now, this is a tool in addition to the ones that we just talked about, but 3 questions to check yourself to see if your inner gremlin is showing up. So since we're in the midst of a career readiness exercise series, we're looking at a job description. We're like, oh, man, that would be great. I would love to go out and do that. I just think I would be so energized and I wouldn't have the Sunday blues anymore. Oh, but no, I don't, you gotta buy to that. No. So, because I don't hit this bullet point. 3 questions to check yourself. Is that really true? Yep, maybe that 1 bullet point, maybe those 3 bullet points. But guess what? The other 22 you did hit. And remembering, they're only looking for 50 to 60% match. Is that in your control about those 3? No, it's the Christmas wish list. If money was unlimited and we could have everything as a child or maybe as an adult. And what vulnerability or core value is making you feel this way? Because our imposter gremlins are typically based out of something in our life path. It's a lived experience. It's how we perceive something. It's a way that we were treated that is striking a chord on a vulnerability or going up a core value. The cautionary thing I want to share about a core value is it your core value or is it a core value that society has said you should be holding strong? So when you're like, is this true or not true? These 3 questions. Is it true? Is what my gremlin's saying, is it true? Is this more? Is this in my control? Probably not. A lot of times. And what is making me feel that way? I mentioned earlier, as a recovering perfectionist, a recovering people pleaser, oftentimes when it comes to what vulnerability or core value is making me feel this way, it's that natural tendency to make sure that everything is calm and I'm not creating friction. Because I want a safe environment. So I'm seeking to people please. And my value is my innate value is to people please. But I know that Amy, as a human, if she is always pleasing everybody, this person in this body doesn't get to be happy a lot of the times. So one of the things that you will be receiving is just a sheet. I encourage you to print this out. I promise you not to publish E3 Coaching Studio to promote that. I promise you it's not about that. But to have it posted somewhere in your visual sphere, carry it in your pocket, have it on the dashboard of your car, have it on your bathroom mirror, what have you. But the intent of this is to remind you to ask yourself those 3 questions. Remember, you are enough. The mantra, I am enough. And the reason those 3 arrows are there is to utilize this as a worksheet as well. I am enough, and then write 3 statements of affirmation. 3 reasons why in this particular moment when that gremlin is coming at you, like, shut up, you got your 90 seconds. Here's my 3 bullet points about why I am enough. And then I am going to, again, this is just, it's not for E3, but why I'm going to equip, why I'm going to elevate or empower myself, and then elevate and go from there. So you will be getting that tool as well. I had mentioned a commitment contract. And so we are going to be moving into that space right now. And you're going to have a little bit of time to think on this. So what I would like you to do in the next 2.5 minutes, there's most likely at least one imposter gremlin, a thought that kept popping into your head today. So I want you to write that down and then think about what vulnerability or core value do you think it's bumping up against? In the example in the classroom of me asking why, I now know as an adult, people see that as a challenge, as opposed to, I just really want to learn more from you. I'm not trying to challenge you, but I want more. I mean, literally, I would skip what I said. I was a high school struggler. I would skip school to go to the library. I would go to the public library to learn more. So counterintuitive. And then what strategy are you going to utilize, whether it's one we talked about during our time together this evening, or one that popped into your head? How can you tame that gremlin that you wrote about in step 1 the next time it rears its ugly head? So we are going to take 2.5 minutes just so that you can write this commitment contract to yourself, so that this event tonight is useful with a takeaway to you. And so we're going to start that now.
Amy, can you put the slide back up? I think
I am going to in just 1 second here.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm not sure if you saw.
No. This timer that I added is not working for me well. So it will be up in 1 second. Yes. And I'm going to skip the timer.
Perfect. Thank you.
You are welcome. All right, my friends, hopefully that has helped you to solidify and make a commitment to yourself while you were doing that work on those 3 steps. I was looking through the chat and I am loving some of the names that you came up with. And again, I just want to applaud you for your openness to share with your fellow Lakers. Because maybe they were struggling and your willingness to be open could have very well sparked them. So thank you for doing that. We will have some Q&A. So as we move ahead here, as you can see, my timer didn't work again. And apparently I need to go out and share again. So much for practice. I appreciate your grace. Close out that one. Okay. Next piece that was not on the agenda, but I wanted to share it with you as things that I have read in the last year that are flippin' amazing, that will help you tame your gremlins. One of them is The Subtle Art of Not Giving Enough by Mark Manson. It is an amazing book that I'm going to tell you will be a little bit of a challenge because it flips your mindset around what we value as humans. But the reason it ties so well into imposter phenomena is because it guides us and opens our eyes to, oh, that's why Mrs. Moore is hanging around so much. And then recently, I did not know that Mr. Manson also had a journal. And I should have brought a copy because it's my new favorite gift to hand out to everybody. The book and then the journal. And it's a very different style of journal. And I just encourage you, it will really help you slay and bring clarity to things. And then also The Untethered Soul was introduced to me by a dear friend and colleague in the coaching world, and it's by Michael Singer. And it is all about our inner roommate, i.e. gremlin, that is just constantly creating noise in our brain and equipping us with ways to just hush that. And one tactic I took away from this book is, I said, I give my gremlin 90 seconds. I time myself. Guess what? Sometimes I time myself and 60 seconds later, Ms. Moore is freaking back. You already had your time, woman. Go away. So a simple tool in Senior's book is just out loud, or if I'm in a space where I cannot be talking to myself, where people will be like, what is Amy doing right now? Is I just say to myself, hello, 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 because it stops that talk. It reminds me I'm the one in control. I'm the one in control of the voices, or i.e. my thoughts, and it stops them. There's many other books that are excellent. I could have filled up these screens, but these two right now are my current favorite. And they are also, I've only read one other book twice in my life. In each one of these books, I have now read 4 times in the last year. And that's huge. But I also need to put out my disclaimer is during 2020, when the pandemic started, I discovered audiobooks. So when I say read, I really mean listen, just so you know. I have a whole shelf of books that I still need to physically read, but I've fallen in love with audiobooks. And then also a shout out to the public library systems all over America that thank you for providing free audiobooks to me. So I'm also a lot of cash savings there as well. So just wanted to share that. So that is the conclusion of our, well, it's Q&A time. And then on the PowerPoint will be my contact information with E3. Just so you know, currently on a wait list if you do have a need, but please know that Grand Valley has resources, or if you're interested about Pine Rest, reach out to me there as well. But we are at Q&A time, so let's have it. My challenge to the crowd is ask me 2 questions.
It looks like Heidi has a question to start. She's wondering, do you have to read the book before using the journal?
Absolutely not, Heidi. Absolutely not. If you just want to, because the beautiful thing about Manson's book is it gives you little snippets from the book and then prompts you. So no, you don't. And if you are purchasing, it's okay with Amazon, but I also encourage you to visit our local bookstores as well, our indie bookstores. It's a little plug.
Love it.
There's got to be one more question at least out there for me. Okay, I'm loving, yes, I was able to name it. Just scanning. Okay, so we've got a quiet crowd all of a sudden here. You're more comfortable in chat, I see.
Oh, it looks like we just got a couple come through, actually.
Okay.
How do you respond to someone at work questioning you all the time about your work?
Oh, great question. So if it is someone that is closely aligned with, say you're in similar roles, and the question is, And if you want to add a few more details about what, but in the meantime, I will share, like, hey, Amy, it doesn't seem like you're making much impact when you're doing your outreach. Oh, really, Mrs. Moore? Because guess what? I made connections with 6 different new universities. I got us connected with 4 new community relationships. But even before we go into proving ourselves, when they're questioning us, asking them for more information. So tell me what you would like from your question. Can you please unpack your question a little bit further for me so I know what you're looking for? Because sometimes we perceive differently than other people's intent. Oh, a micromanager. Yeah, a micromanager. They're no fun. So an example with that would, I'm just going to use my name. If I was the supervisor and I'm your micromanager, and if we ever hang out together and I'm micromanaging things, please let me know because I do not want to be that person. But hey, Amy, I just want to know how you best would like to be kept abreast of how I'm performing my work or how things are going, because then they have to verbalize what the expectations are. And then once they verbalize, then oftentimes they can visually see that happening. So the micromanaging steps back a little bit. Or if you're giving a new project, a new task, okay, Amy, what part of this do you want to own? What pieces do you want me to own? Because again, it brings the focus on their micromanaging of things. And creates a visual like, oh, do I want to leave, or am I just gonna trust Ashlyn to do the work and do the check-ins when I'm supposed to? Also, Akidra, hopefully I did not slaughter your name. If I did, please let me know. There's a term for micromanagers, and it's called managing up. So if you Google managing up, it is a wonderful tool for you to put in your box to get those behaviors, to minimize those behaviors and learn how to manage up so you live a happier work life.
Thank you.
And Heidi, recommend ways to tame the gremlin, more ways. If you don't mind in the chat, if there's certain things that you're looking for when you say more ways, because I could go on and on if you want, but I just want to make sure that I'm going to a place that you want me to speak to. So other additional ways to tame our gremlins is to do something and allow ourselves the time to do something that sparks energy for us. An example for me is if my gremlin is more, she just is on and on and on. I give her space. She keeps showing up every 60 seconds after my 90 seconds. Stopping and allowing myself space to throw on my music list for some songs so that I can get out of my brain. Another way is to get involved in activities that highlight the joys in my life, things that I like to do. I love to be there for the underdog and walk alongside and say, nah, you thought they were an underdog, but they're not. So that's a way to tame the gremlin as well, is to put yourself in positions where you can exercise more frequently the things that bring you joy. I appreciate that vulnerability in that. And I really would just encourage, create that smile file. So when it's those dark thoughts, boom, you can look at your wall, pull out the file, pull out your phone, what in the ways that you did. So Ashlyn's gonna, I just noticed we have 1 minute, so I'm gonna let you wrap up because I think you probably have one more or more than 1 minute. And of course, I took it all from you. So thank you for having me. And thank you, Laker family, for entertaining me and spending your evening with me.
Thank you so much, Amy. And I'm not sure if you want to share your contact information. I think that's most important for people to see. So if you want to pop your slide up, I'm happy to chat
Absolutely.
as people take that down. Thank you so much for an impactful and wonderful workshop tonight and for sharing just a little bit of your expertise with us. Thank you everyone for joining us this evening and for your participation in the final installation of our Career Readiness series. Whether you joined us for all 5 installations or just tonight, I hope that you found the program to be impactful. I am popping a link here in the chat for a survey. We have some giveaway items, a tumbler, lanyard, sticker. I really encourage you to fill out our survey. This is the 2nd time we're doing this program and we've expanded on it. So we're really looking for feedback on how to provide you career resources that you may need. So please feel encouraged to follow that link. You may be able to win some great stuff. So with that, I just want to say,
maybe they have.
Yeah,
I think alumni relations to me.
Yeah, rep Grand Valley at work. Yeah. So please keep your eyes on your email. We will send a follow-up with the resources that Amy mentioned, as well as a recording of tonight's event. The survey link will be included in that email as well. Please also remember that as a Grand Valley alumni, our commitment to you is as a Laker for a lifetime. So we will always be alongside you and all of our alumni ready to help you reach your next goals. We encourage you to tap into your resources, no matter what stage of your life or career, and call on us for a network of support. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Feel free to check out more events such as this at gvsu.edu/alumni.